Well, welcome back, folks, to another TTPOA podcast. We have a special guest co-host today. We're collaborating, so I'm pretty excited about this. We have Scott Howell from Ironside Podcast. Man, welcome.
I'm honored to be here. I'm excited too. Super excited.
So this is not only just our podcast; it's your podcast. So we're doing it together. So
I'm honored.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing. So, man, Scott's been a real good friend to TTPOA. Went through the basic SWAT a few weeks ago. We did a podcast on that you released on your channel and stuff. So, once again, you're hanging around a bunch of knuckle draggers and stuff at the conference, and you're back for more, man.
Yeah, I can't get enough of it, I guess.
What's your thoughts so far?
Well, obviously, last year was my first time here, and I was just kind of feeling it out.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. I didn't have a lot of expectations. I didn't set up any interviews or anything like that. Just kind of wanted to get a sense for the vibe. And what I got out of it was the vibe here is different in a lot of ways. And I could probably go on and on about that, but I think like the big takeaways for me were like the brotherhood that exists here and the connection to something that's bigger than the people.
Yeah.
I find the folks here to be super focused at times where they need to be focused, but at the same time, being able to be the real humans that they are, and they're connecting with their friends and their buddies and all the vendors down there that are supporting the show. And my experience at the SWAT school was then seeing that come back together sort of in real life.
Yeah.
When people were coming together and running back into people, but also seeing them running back into people, and that Texas is a big state.
Yeah.
You guys got a lot of things going on.
It's still a small community.
It's special. I think that's what it is. So, it's been a good time.
Did you run into some students that you went through class with?
I did. I saw a couple down there. I saw Byron down there who made me do more burpees in 5 days than I've done in 5 years. It was good to connect. Some people recognized me, kind of chuckled when they saw me because I suffered a little bit at times. So.
I know I saw you Rebecca, this morning. Yep. You and Rebecca saw each other again and stuff. So that's really cool. And, you're going back to like supporting everyone. Like I look at your hat, Good Dude Concepts with Chris. Mm-hmm. He's out here with a booth with his new tool and stuff like that. So that's a good deal.
Good friend.
He's a big motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody says the same thing. It's so funny to watch everybody else have the same reaction to that dude that I had. So he invited me. Shout out to Chris Curris and Good Dude Concepts and that whole team. Amazing group of guys. But he had very early when I started the podcast, his wife actually, who was also law enforcement, had caught an episode, and he then kind of started listening. She suggested he listen to it, and he invited me out to train. And when I showed up to the training, which was in Miami, Florida at the time, I had to ride the elevator up, and the elevator doors parted, and then the Sasquatch was standing in front of me. I said the same thing I saw like 4 other people do. Like I didn't realize this dude's that big. He's a big boy.
I was like, damn, man, he is a big one. Because I've been on a text thread for like a year and a half with him and a bunch of other guys, and I finally met him. Like, fuck, man, like a little, yes, sir.
Yeah, he has to fly first class, and he's got to do that. He's one of those type of just got to drive a minivan or a big old truck. Can't squeeze him into a car.
That's funny. So got a good topic, man. This has been a topic that I know I get asked a lot. I know I live in the community as far as law enforcement. Matt, we talk about this a lot, just leadership and police work. We have training, so we're always in this environment of people asking. And then I think your perspective is really good too, because I've seen in the last few weeks, people are hitting you up. Hey, when are you going to interview a chief and stuff? So,
well, I have a story about that actually, because so it was a couple of weeks ago. I got a DM said, "Hey, you really need to have a chief on the podcast." And so I immediately responded back and was like, "It hasn't been for lack of effort or trying. I just can't get past that layer or that barrier or whatever it is." And so I think there was a little back and forth. And then I took that message and I posted it on my story with basically say, "Hey, does anybody out there that can make an intro for me?" And I got a couple messages back, and I'm always grateful for that, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for. There were people, say, in administration, but a couple of them were retired. They're not current. Yeah. And some of them didn't actually fulfill the role that I was looking for. What I really wanted was a chief of police for a municipal agency, somebody that's dealing with cops that are dealing with me, right, on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Not really me, but my, my neighbors, the people in my city, the people that, I talk to, train with, that kind of thing. I needed somebody that was current, and I wanted somebody that could be honest and open and having a forthcoming conversation. So we set it up today. We got Bryan Williams here today.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, as I was walking through the show earlier today, I got you get the long eye contact with somebody, and he goes, "Hey man, it's good to meet you." And then I had to look at the name tag, and I put it all together, and he's like, "I'm the one that sent you that message." And I went, wait, I'm supposed to see you in a couple hours, upstairs. So it's weird how it came full circle. And so I want to thank Bryan for being here for this, because and I know a lot of people do have questions, and I'm hoping we can kind of get some honest answers from everything that I've been told and everything that I've learned probably in the last 10 minutes, just kind of wrapping offline. Yeah. I think we're going to get some solid insight to some things from a leader. Yeah.
No. So our special guest is our second time on the podcast. So welcome, Bryan. First time we did the Unicorn Chief, and I guess that kind of stuck. Yep. I saw some guys, because what that kind of podcast was about, if you haven't listened to it, was kind of the practical shooting, what that looks like. You were a GM early in the 90s, and that was just unheard of. And even today, a GM in even law enforcement, that's still a hard thing to accomplish and things like that. But there's more now than there was when you were coming up, and just your emphasis on training and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't really dive into the whole leadership and a chief and all that kind of stuff. But man, you have been like, we've been communicating since then about, hey, we need to do this and all that kind of stuff. But the time was right and all that kind of thing. So glad you're here. We're in your home county, and stuff. So
welcome back.
Yeah, yeah. So
I'm gonna move this a little closer.
Okay, yeah.
Gonna work that mic on you.
Got it.
Yeah.
There we go.
So Bryan, just, man, tell us who you are, what you're about. Why are you here, man? Like why do you have this passion? Because I think you have the same passion as the guy who works midnights that just has a silver badge, and he's been here for 3 years.
Right. Yeah. So I'm pushing almost 40 years in the business now.
Wow.
And my background, I started in North Texas, city of McKinney Police Department, and came here in 2004 as a police chief. And served in that role for right around 8 years. Then got moved up to assistant city manager.
Okay.
Served in that role for about 11 years until I retired last year. So
quick retirement.
Quick.
I know you retired. You're like, hey, we're gonna do this, and they're like, hey, well, I got another job. I'm like, damn, dude.
I did. So yeah, on that podcast we talked about, do you have any interest in getting back into the business? And I told you I think I'd be fired in 4 months. I've lasted 4 months. So and it's always possible. It's
any
always
day
possible.
now.
Yeah. But yeah, I went to work for the newly elected sheriff here in Williamson County.
Okay.
And
I met him today.
I'm here to help him to the best of my ability.
Good.
And we've got a great group of SWAT guys at the county. They're here at the conference. They're helping out with the conference, and I love those guys. So
good deal.
I'm curious to know why you jumped back into it. I mean, there's going to be a history there. You guys know more about Bryan than I do, but the coming out, going to the city manager role, which is interesting.
Yeah,
from law enforcement. What you discovered there? What drove this? What drove the reentry back in? Or because I think there's two things. You're either a glutton for punishment, or you're super passionate and you saw some things that needed to be fixed, and you wanted to take a leadership role.
Yeah, well, it's not so much I want to get back in to fix it so much as for me it is a passion. It's always been I was never really ready to leave law enforcement when I went to City Hall. I was asked to do that. I did it. I learned a lot. It was great. I got to see a lot behind the scenes that most chiefs never get to see. They think they know it, but they don't know it. So, I mean, for me, it's there was a level after 5 or 6 months being retired, I just got bored, and you start to lose your purpose and want to figure out what's next. And for me, this opportunity came up. In fact, I was offered an interim city manager job almost within a day or two of being asked by the sheriff to come to work for him. So to me, it's either I'm gonna get back in to serve. I have a great deal of respect for the guys in SWAT, in training, still in the business today, doing work. And I can tell you from being back in it for just a few months now, man, the world's changed a lot. I knew it changed, but just seeing it, it's almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we're here for however long until the sheriff doesn't need me anymore.
So I saw you at Range Day yesterday.
Yes.
And you said you've been out on the range because you're over special operations training, because that's what you like. Hey, if I'm going to do this, this is what I want.
That's what I wanted to do. That's right.
Which I like that. But how many times have you been on the range since you've taken this job with the troops?
Yeah, so we talked about that at the last podcast.
Yeah.
So, oh man, there's a chief that actually gets out and shoots. So yeah, I do. When we got into office, we had our in-service for the agency starting up in January, and it was every week. Monday and Tuesday was a group, Wednesday and Thursday was a group for like up until March. And I made a point to go out every Tuesday and Thursday to as many of those as I could in those 3 months to qualify on the rifle, qualify pistol, and just to be out there to see those guys, see them shoot, let them see me out there. And, to me, it's, we talked about this. It's important, I think, for folks to see that people at that level are, they're going to show up and do the work.
Yeah.
We don't see that in this profession nearly enough. Now, let's be honest about it. We don't see that enough. There's always an excuse.
Yeah.
And but I'll say that all of us that came in on this administration, all of us went through the actual 2-day in-service.
For all that.
So, I'm proud of our guys for going through that.
So what's that experience been like as far as getting to know the troops that are actually doing the damn job? Like, to me, that's a great bonding opportunity, man. Everybody's equal out there at the range. It's like, hey, there's no rank. Like, I mean, the range master can tell you, hey man, cease fire. I'm the chief. No,
Yeah.
To me, I think that's a great thing to be present and to be just part of the troops.
Yeah, it was a good opportunity to meet them, and it's not just the LE side of the fence; it's correction officers too that we have that are licensed to carry, and just to get a sense of where we were as an agency, and frankly, I mean the qualification course that we had was too easy, so we're changing that. We're
Nice. I love it.
We're gonna up the standards on that. We're gonna make it more realistic and more difficult. But
I love that. But some people don't. But I do.
I mean, man, there's so many good people that are working at this agency. Again, man, we talked about this 2 years ago. People are starving for leadership. They're starving for people to stand up and make the job more about the job and the mission than about themselves. And, again, we talked about it 2 years ago. It's still prevalent.
Yeah.
You see it in your agency too, I'm sure. It's not just one agency or a couple. It's in every single agency.
For sure.
So,
I'm just listening to you talk through that, and I'm always waiting when I'm listening to a chief or a public official give me kind of the canned response.
Yes.
And
I'm not the normal dude.
So I get that. So I have questions. I mean, that's one of the things you said there, and I hear that a lot, just kind of in the people that I talk to, particularly the law enforcement officers that that aren't on the show. Just like we never hear from the chief. Only when there's something bad going on or there's a public appearance or something.
Yeah.
Right? So having your finger on the pulse of who your people are, but also you just mentioned making it about the people and the officers that are out there and the things that they need and what they. I think you can break it down to sort of like skills. And so my question in all this is, what are the most important skills that we should be valuing for our officers when it comes to the training side of things? Maybe we even keep it a little bit broader than that. Maybe it's more
we can get right where you're at.
Okay, so I just what are those?
You've had Matt Pronka on.
Yep, a couple times. Yep.
So he's talked about the hard skills, right? Those are the skills.
So we're talking about shooting.
Yeah.
Talk about fighting.
Yes.
We're talking about, in your case, we're talking about driving.
Yes.
Right? We're talking.
Okay.
And
You're on it.
There's things that are rooted in that. And I would imagine at some level in there's communication skills at some level.
It is.
Because that all goes there. But that's what I want to hear. And that's not what I hear when I talk to other leadership. I get the canned response, which is, oh, well, they need to be in touch with the public, and they need to understand the people that are in their communities, and they need to know how to communicate and be a team player. Those are very generalized things, and while all those things I believe are important at some level, where are we ranking them in the level of importance with regard to the job that needs to be done on a daily basis, right, for the community? Because I think those are all good things.
Yeah.
At the same time, like if I got to call the cops, none of that's really important to me right now.
You don't give a fuck what all that is. Yeah.
And man, this is interesting. So Texas has through Limit.
Sorry, one more time. I'm just going to.
Yeah, sorry. Okay,
through
Limit.
There we go.
Texas has a police chief leadership series that all the police chiefs in Texas go to.
Sure, it's riveting.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And in all fairness, I mean, there's some good stuff that comes. I remember quite a few years ago, I went to one. It was after I was already at City Hall. And I think it was in either Waco or Lubbock that I went to this class. And I remember one of the PhDs that they had, former police chief, now PhD, teaching at a university, was there talking about policing. And he was up there talking about how the days of riding, roping, and shooting are done. Yeah, riding, roping, and shooting are done, and that
sounds like fun though.
And I don't want to chop up what his message was, but it was really about, hey, we need to focus more on the marketing side of the fence and community policing. And again, we talked about this 2 years ago. There's nothing wrong with the term community policing. No. I believe in that. Yeah. But it's about problem solving. It's not about being on Instagram, throwing a bunch of stupid crap on Instagram where you get the same 40 likes every post. Yeah. That's not what it's about. And I sat there and I'm like, man, I'm a level higher now than everybody in this room. And I don't agree with that. Yeah. I don't get that. I don't agree with that, because it is the riding, the roping, and the shooting stuff that gets our guys and gals killed. Yes. Every day. Brandon, you and I have talked about this. And so, man, when we talk about like the change in this profession. Yeah. I mean, let's go back to Ferguson. Yeah. That's when it started. Yep. And everything after that started to be softer, more de-escalation oriented, right? Yeah. And we know de-escalation is not a bad thing, but it causes hesitation, and hesitation causes a big issue. Yeah. We see it. God, man, how many videos have you seen that? Too many. Where that hesitation has caused the situation to even escalate even further. Yeah.
Too many is the answer to that question.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, too many.
Yeah, I won't even go down because we'll get off track. But you're exactly right, and I think, and one of the questions that was asked, because we put out a poll on our Instagram feed, so we had a bunch of questions that said, "Hey, we're going to have a chief on. What questions do you have?" But one of them was basically kind of to your same point is why does administration take some incident such as Ferguson, Breonna Taylor, some other things that have happened, and then they take that one false narrative that the media or some action group who is anti-police, no matter what you do for this group, right? And they take that false narrative, twisting the truth, and they run with it, and then administrations take that and they change policies based on that. Like, why is that happening? I don't understand. I don't understand that. I mean, obviously someone else wrote that in and they don't understand it either. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah.
A couple of words to me come to mind: fear, weakness. Yeah. I think you brought it up 2 years ago. We have case law. Yes. We have policy. Right. We need to stand behind it. Right.
the Supreme Court has ruled on our use of force. Like, it's there. Why don't we just follow that? What's so hard about that?
Right.
The thing that I struggle with is again, average Joe citizen, when I see the policies change. I mean, you mentioned obviously some landmark cases that shifted the dial a lot of ticks. When I look at that and I look at like how businesses are run, right, and how institutions are run, they're never the good ones never change based on that stuff. They take it, they examine it, they break it down, and then there's a like what really happened, like where was the breakdown in this particular thing, and then we talk about it, we communicated about it. It doesn't mean we change policy. We have to address some things, but when I see the knee-jerk reaction like that and how it trickles down, like there's no other business in the world that really operates like that. And so one of my, no successful business, right? Yeah. I mean, obviously if you have a problem, you have to fix it, but what was the problem? And that's what's never identified. And to your point, like there's a narrative that gets run away with. And so here's the question in this that frustrates the hell out of me, and that is, that happens and it continues to happen, and we're seeing it happen, and you see the damage get done to the point where cities are being burned down and people are losing their jobs or whatever else. People are going to jail, as a result. Officers are going to jail, officials are going to jail. And at the end of the day, like you use the words like, what's the problem? Like, why are we reacting that? It's fear and weakness. What are you afraid of?
Yes.
Like for a guy that's in your spot, what is there to be fearful of? I have to know this. I can make some assumptions, but I got you here, so I'm not going to try and do that.
Well, I'm not afraid of anything anymore. So I'm out of that fear zone. But yeah, the fear obviously is getting fired, right?
Okay.
So people are worried more about their own self-interest.
Yeah.
Than they are the mission and the troops.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. Well, I could be wrong, but
that's the assumption you left me to sit with, right?
Yeah,
like if you don't answer the question, so you answered. Okay, so that's
did I answer?
You answered the question, and so I understand. Like intrinsically, people have fear of losing their job, their livelihood, and whatever else. I just wonder, is that how you operated? Not you, but the person that's feeling that and behaving that way. Is that the fear you operated in to get to your position?
No. For me personally, it was not. Was that fear present in the time that I was a police chief? Absolutely it was, okay? But you still have to get up the next day and look at yourself in the mirror, right?
Yes.
And so the decisions that you make, you have to live with those. But yeah, there's always, and it's not just a fear of getting fired. I mean, it's a fear of, the troop backlash, the community backlash, City Hall, dealing with the council. Like there's a lot of things. And look, I don't want to go overboard on throwing shade on people that are in that position. Because it's tough.
I recognize that.
And I think too,
job.
I recognize that. I acknowledge that.
And let me add this. Let's take a look at how the world has changed since 2020, right? It's not just law enforcement; it's the entire ecosystem. Yeah. And it's a tearing down of institutions. Yeah. Right. So it's not just police chiefs. Yeah. Right. It's everyone that's in political office. You name it. So like, what is a police chief supposed to do in that environment?
And I think too, like for me, when it goes back to the whole fear deal, because it's so funny, Scott, when he first said fear, when you ask him the question, that was my thing. Well, what are they afraid of? That was the natural question. Right. And I go back to, this is one of those unique careers that when you're the chief of police, you had been the deep night dude, the rookie, the guy who had the shitty days off, who had to answer the shitty calls, who got in the shitty equipment, all this kind of stuff. You were once that guy. So it's not like some dude from Harvard came in and now he's the chief and he's never done any of this job. You've done this job. And I go back to the whole fear deal. Is it more fearful that you walk up in the 3 a.m. and you go to a traffic stop and now an OIS happens? Or now you have all this time to deliberate and look at the general orders and all this kind of stuff and go, well, and then, now I got a call from city manager. And now I got a call from the person who got elected because 45 people voted for this city council person. And now this person calls you because they don't like that. And you're fearful that this person might cause you an issue that could cost you your job. What's actually what's more fearful in life? Having to take someone's life because you're justified in it? Or it could be like, man, it's so gray area, or making a damn decision. Like, to me, it's like you've had to make those decisions. You've had to do things not based on fear. But where does that get lost at, I guess?
That's a great question.
Yeah. That's... I can't,
and you can't answer everything, but
I can't answer for other people.
Yeah,
man. But this sounds a lot like the podcast 2 years ago.
That's okay, man. People need to hear it.
I can sense myself saying exactly the same thing. I can't answer for other people, but I mean, look around. I mean, what we see today is like. You have to question and criticize it.
Yeah.
People in leadership positions are more concerned about their own well-being than they are the mission, the troops, the community, the purpose that they're there.
Yeah.
And it's not always just about moving up, but it's just about sustainability.
Yeah. You say that all the time, Matt.
Yeah. And I say, I think in my experience, you cannot make decisions on promotability or sustainability.
There you go.
Okay. That's what they do. And it's a multi-level, faceted problem here. So either they're making decisions because they want the job or they want to keep the job.
Right.
And not just my department, like you mentioned earlier, every department has good leaders and poor leaders, managers. And I think we have managers as opposed to leaders a lot of the time.
We don't, in some places we don't have either.
And I think that's fair, but so you have people either trying to keep the job or trying to get the job. And a lot of them they don't have a reference to what the job that you're doing. You're undercover narcotics, you're SWAT, you're homicide. Again, not to say that some of them couldn't do it, and that you had to do all that but instead of saying, I don't understand that, and asking for help or asking for opinion, they feel like, well, I'm in position of leadership. I'm the boss. I have to know everything, so I make this decision, and without reference or without having understanding of context, what's going on. And instead of acknowledging that, they do this and they dig in, and then when that trickles down to the next problem, and then it goes down to here, and next thing you know, it's been 18 months, 2 years. It's been bad decision or bad, reflection on one after another, and then that's how you lose the troops. And once you lose that, man, it's hard really to come back from. And then that's a whole nother problem. And so it's systemic in a lot of places, I think. And I'm sure that you probably can add insight to that. Like, I think it's really hard to make that decision for a lot of people. I need to be a leader or I need to be a manager. Like you need to be a leader, but the manager is kind of like the easy way out. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, it does. I can tell you right now, without a doubt, I would rather lose City Hall than the troops.
Oh, that's a good
100%.
I've always thought that. I've always thought like.
Yes. And Brandon, even when I came here, like when I came from McKinney to here, I had 18 and a half years.
Yeah.
And so I was free game. I could have lost everything.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and look at myself in the mirror and go, you know what? So what? Like I did the best I could.
Yeah.
And I already told you 2 years ago, like I made a lot of mistakes. I'm not here talking because I think I'm, at a level above other people.
It's like the whole shooting. You learn more from the mistakes than you do from the success.
Like I made so many mistakes as a chief. I was young. I didn't have a lot of years in. I'm learning like other people do. But I look back on it now and like, there's a lot of things that I should have done different.
So with that in mind, because I look at the brokenness of the system that we're in as far as how we promote, how we do things. Like I look at it and I go, you should have a well-rounded person who had worked patrol, who'd worked narcotics, who'd worked in the schools, like CID, like before you start moving in and now I'm a supervisor, like there should be like things in place where there's a track of leadership. That's why I always go back to, if you look at, and we got dumbass leaders that went through the SWAT ranks as well. But for the majority of the time, if you take someone who had been on SWAT and then they promoted, they just have a better sense overall of what it's like to lead people, because you get on SWAT, you're over equipment, you're over whatever the shittiest thing is that no one else wants to do. But what we give you that responsibility is one of the most important things, because equipment, van, making sure the little things are done, but those things are so important. Yeah. Now you've proven yourself, and then you work yourself up to, ATL or team leader or whatever, and you're always working. Like I look at a team leader or an ATL, you've planned more operations, you've done more this kind of stuff than any supervisor in your department.
Absolutely.
And I look back at that and I'm like, why can't there be programs that go? Because I look at you and you said, I guarantee you now, looking back as a 18-year guy, you're like, I probably should have waited a few more years, just because.
I was told that.
Yes.
I was told to wait.
Yeah.
You're too young.
Because I do think there has to be a time in your career where you're like, I just don't give a fuck anymore. I'm going to do what's right by the guys.
That was at 18 years, man. Yeah. I didn't care.
So for you, and I think for you, that's the difference. But not everybody's like that.
But I kept going up.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt me.
Yeah.
I tell you, man, like the best leaders I see in this profession don't have rank.
No.
Really.
They're informal.
Yeah. You don't need rank to be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
I have a team leader on SWAT here, exceptional leader, and I can't praise him enough, man.
Good. I mean that means something, because
but he understands leadership.
Yeah.
Right. He understands what it is to get folks to follow him.
Yeah.
So a couple of things came up for me in sort of as you were going down the systemic issues and how they get exacerbated and they trickle back down, and then it becomes the norm, or that is now the institution. And it actually, I was just kind of thinking about it, going back to like having to communicate and going back to the fear piece and having to communicate with city council, the mayor, whoever it might be that you're fearful of. And you talking about like having to have done the job and have a finger on the pulse of all these different things, and also being humble enough to sit back and go, I don't know the answer for that, but I got guys that do, and I'm going to go to them to help them, make them part of the decision-making process, and help them. The word I would use is like educate me, right? Tell me what it's like. Tell me what the things that I don't know. And so going back to changing policy based on something that happened, based on somebody's preconceived notion of what is right or what is wrong, what is the right way, what is policy, what is not, which is often very misconstrued, across the board. People don't understand what the policies are. And that's where this is. What I think what's frustrating me now in this very moment is it would be your job as the chief to educate the city council, the mayor, on what the job is and on what the things are that need to be done. Like, what do these people even think we're doing out here? What do they think this is? Okay, they're upset about something. Acknowledge that, whatever it is. Like, it's likely because they saw something and they understand it to be something, whatever that is. But they don't know what the reality of that is. And my position would be, that's your job to make sure, because you are that layer, you are that mouthpiece between the officers on the street, right, and the community leaders that make these decisions and pull these strings, and including the purse strings. Like, what is your involvement with that? Like, if you had experience with that, where you have to sit down and go, I understand where you're coming from, but you got this wrong, and let me tell you why. Because because if you don't have the proverbial balls to put on the table in order to have that conversation, then everybody in the institution is fucked. Yeah. and that trickles down to me in the community.
Well, we're counting on them to stand up.
That's what I mean.
And to represent us. And when they don't, there's no shielding, for your troops. And that's what you hope that your command does for you.
And I think that's what people are saying is like, we lack leadership. We lack people that are standing up for us, but also educating those that clearly don't understand And that's okay that you don't understand, but we need somebody there to educate you. So if you make it all the way through the process and you haven't done a good job at that anyway, and now you're in that position, I shouldn't expect you to be doing this for the community. I shouldn't be expecting you to do this for me, which leaves people out on an island all by themselves, wondering what's going to happen next. And then you start to see this retraction of, nah, I don't want to be a leader because I don't want to be involved in that.
I think for me, when you're talking about all this, what chaps my ass is that, and I know Matt feels the same way, I am fucking willing to die in this job to save whoever that is, but you can't fucking fight for me and the other guys that are willing to die in this job, but you can't go and have some conflict with a city, whatever. That right there, that's the moral injury that just fucking just drives me crazy, because I have proven it. You have proven this, that we are willing to go do the shit that a lot of people won't do. And it's not a pat on our back at all. So don't get me wrong when I say that, but like, I want to get fucking backed by, quote, lack of a better word, the adult in the room, the father figure, the leader, fucking back me. Don't just pat me on the back and fucking fight for me, because I'm fighting for these citizens. And we are, but then that gets lost, and it causes more issues long-term mentally than anything else we do.
Yeah, I want to change gears here a little bit, if that's okay with you guys, because it's on the same thread, but this is a question that I asked. I posted somewhere, and then I was told it got passed around. Like in private chats, like you guys are, like you were describing earlier and whatnot, through law enforcement. It came up in a post somewhere on something, and the question was the question that I had, which is, what does an officer value in being an officer, right? So that's kind of the middle person. Like, what do they value in being the officer? And I believe they come in with a certain level of that, and that's developed, over time, and things may change a little bit. They thought it was one thing, and it kind of changes or increases to another thing or whatever. And there's different weights to different things as you go through. But more specifically, what does the agency leadership value in their officers? Like, what is important for them, for the people that work for them, right? Because those people are an extension of the chief, right? Sort of by proxy, right?
Right, yeah.
And then the next question to that, and this is a large question, like, what are the citizens, what does the community value in our police officers, in our police department? So I put that out there, and somebody said, man, that's a really good question. And then it came back from a couple of people, like, I actually asked my chief that, and they got the answers that I said they would probably get, and they're the same ones that I get when I ask that question.
What are the answers?
Well, crime is down, right? We've had less OISs. Awesome. That was the answer, and I'm like, I think you missed the question. Maybe you didn't understand. Let me rephrase it, and I did that. Yeah. And basically, I got the same answer repackaged.
Look, man. Chiefs today love to talk about how crime is down, right?
Yeah. And what does that mean?
What world do we live in? Do you live in a world where crime is down?
No, it isn't.
It's a shit show.
It isn't down. It isn't. As compared to what?
Exactly right.
So I never got an answer to my question. And neither did some of these guys that went directly, and they got some heat for asking it. And again, reframing the question, that's not what I mean.
So the community, to me, I don't know. I live in the community. I know what I want. So, you want professional, fair policing, right? What do the chiefs today want in their officers? They want, I can't answer.
No, I want your answer. I want your answer.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
My answer, my answer is not going to be the right answer. But my feel of it today is that the chiefs today, they want their officers to keep
a low
profile.
Yeah.
And because today it's all about smoke and mirrors.
It's just about optics.
It's about optics.
Amen.
It's smoke and mirrors. It's not about end results. It's about Instagram likes. It's about, look at us, we're professional. It's the mirror image on the outside of the building, but you go into that building and I guarantee you that it's chaos inside the building. People are unhappy, they're unfocused, they don't know what the mission is. and they're just hunkered down waiting for this person to leave and for somebody better to come along. The problem's going to be in the future is that what's loaded into the pipeline for the next level is the same exact thing. So I'm here, Brandon, to bring truth to that.
I'm glad I got
this goes
almost 27 years in. I'm like, my highlight of, I'm on the like downhill slope, but I feel for these men and women.
I do too. And Brandon, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, no,
I'm here for that.
It is.
And nothing else.
This goes back to what you were, a little bit about what you were saying before.
Yeah, well, I think it's real easy. If you look at the few queue up things that they want to do, they talk about response time, overall crime, right? Complaints, arrest. Those are something tangible. It's something they can put
it's a metric.
It's a metric. They can put. They can pull up a spreadsheet and say, hey, Lieutenant such and such, pull this up. It's easy data. That's easy.
That's not what I asked. Not the question I asked.
Yeah, and because I have seen many commands come and go in my time, and we've had great ones. We had some ones that I thought were down could have done a better job.
Way too nice.
Ones that have original ideas, and I'll tell you right now, Chief Garcia, who just left us.
I was about to say,
Chief Garcia came from California. Nobody had any idea. He's an outsider.
He was our police chief in my city.
Let me tell you, I've said this to many people. I've said it to him without any question. He's the best chief I've ever had. In Dallas. I thought he did a great job. The best thing he did, he came in, he goes, I'm going to evaluate and assess what y'all are doing. There's always tweaks we can do, little things we can change, but I'm not going to come in here and make wholesale changes until I think that's the best thing to do. So he was not scared to say, I don't know. I'm new. I'm going to find out what's going on. I have my own ideas, but that'll be. And he met with certain specialized groups. My group was one of them. And he came in and listened, had questions, and he moved on and talked, and then made his assessments. That's leadership. Yeah. And I told him this right before he left. I said, man, thank you for doing that, because hopefully the people in the pipeline with us saw that and go, here's a guy that came in that had no insider information, didn't have loyalty to anybody, but realized, hey, I need to be honest and upfront and do it the right way. He did. And I thought he did a great job for us.
And a department that's one of the largest in the nation. It's not like you're, apartment of 25 guys.
Yeah.
So we miss him dearly. We miss him dearly.
He was a great dude, and I'm very thankful to have had him. And you hope that people pick up on that and go, there's a guy that did it the right way. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong, because they all copy each other. Look, every crime plan they come up with, they just come up with a new name for it.
It's a playbook.
And they just change a comma here or there or everywhere. Yeah. So I
think that's what's interesting is that I didn't realize that when he said Garcia, and you're like, oh, that was our, and you're like, oh, that man, what I hear from that.
We lost him at the most critical time we could have lost him, by the way.
And I think
2021.
What's fascinating is that you have experience as a citizen, you have experience as working as a officer for them.
And we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, they're saying the same thing. There's another chief that I know, same thing. Every department he goes to, I talk to those guys, they're like, we love our chief. I'm like,
Allen, Texas.
Yeah. And the very first time I heard that, when he went to Grand Prairie, and he said, and I was talking to those guys, and I was out at the horse track, and I said, hey, how's y'all's new guy? They go, we love our chief. I go,
that's right.
What are you talking about? Love. Every single time. And I'm not blowing smoke up anybody's ass. Anybody knows me, I'm just going to tell you what the fuck I get told. And I'm like, I don't understand that level that everyone is saying that. And what they always go back to is, if you fucking don't work, you don't like him.
Right.
Well, fuck yeah, that's the good thing.
Right.
And it's amazing. It's always a culture changing for the positive, because you're out there actually doing it for the troops.
Yeah, Steve,
that gets lost.
Steve Dye's a great guy.
Yeah.
And
it's not, and the thing is, it's not shooting. I get there's all kinds of things.
Yes.
There's a lot of things. I understand. Like, I get, when I first got on the team, my attitude and my responsibility is way different now than being a senior team. I get all that. So I'm not losing that perspective, but I also understand where the fuck I came from. And I understand that. And I will never forget that because all roads lead back to patrol.
Right.
I know that I feel for those guys. I know what that. I did 14 years in patrol. I get the shit. Why do you forget this? Not you, but just in general.
They forget, man. They either didn't do it or they've forgotten it. Yeah. And it's about them now.
Yeah.
Right.
And it drives me crazy because I don't do this. Like this fills my cup of doing this podcast. I love it. I have a passion for it. But man, I want other people to hear this and catch some passion for whatever topic we're on. Like I want to get the community better.
And you're good at it.
So to me, it's like, why do we lose that, man? Like, why do we ever lose that? Like Scott has no dog in this fight as far as changing the culture of police work, but he's invested enough in it to see, hey, there is a fucking change. Because I always go back to, if you take the business model, look at politics right now. You take a business model, now you're putting it in government. That's probably a good thing. Scott has a business model and he looks at it and goes, man, y'all need to do more stuff like the business side of that. Y'all would be more productive because there's very few police departments in the world that they ran it like a business. They would fucking lose their asses every single day. I mean, you're sitting there laughing, you know it. I mean, so.
Man, you're hitting on so many points. You sort of went through that line of metrics. I keep coming back to you because you're like hitting points that are connecting dots for me.
Matt doesn't talk a lot, but when he does, he brings points up.
Yeah, he's a pretty smart dude.
Yeah. I'm all right. Fucking say something, Matt. I'm like, and then he does. I'm like, okay,
no, but when he does, like it hits home. So keep doing your thing over there, Matt.
That's why I brought him on.
The question was values, and what you gave me was goals. And what I heard you say in terms of values was kind of the high level. These are the things that are going to help us accomplish our goals. This is like the home base we can always come back to make sure that we're doing those things the right way. And what I've gotten and what you've confirmed and kind of what you articulated there, which is now like deeply penetrating you've ninja'd my brain, is that there's a huge disconnect. More specifically, there is no goals and values alignment. It's not aligned. And partly because there's no alignment around the values piece, which is, again, that cornerstone of where those metrics end up coming from. So you said, like, I want professionalism, right? I want fairness, right? Those are values. Those are things you can anchor to and go, okay, so when we are performing our job, how do we maintain that? And if we're doing that and it's consistent and we can keep going back to that, almost always. And so I go back to, you mentioning business, like if I can keep coming back to that, the metrics almost always work themselves out the right way. Yeah. They almost always do. So when I ask the question and I get the metrics and the disconnect from the values, going back to the systemic problems, then what are we doing? The first question I asked you was, what are the skills needed to ultimately, that are connected to the values that ultimately hit the metrics? And I hear crime is down and I go, no, it isn't. It's up. And all the things that you're telling me don't make any sense to me. You know, as I'm staring at it and feeling it and experiencing it on a regular basis, it's supremely frustrating.
So here's a dynamic I see. I see on Instagram a post. It's awesome. We get 40 likes. You guys are awesome. Blue bonnet field, coffee with the cop, whatever. Then I look on Nextdoor, the app.
Yeah.
And I see neighbors going, why are there 45 cops in my neighborhood?
Right.
Right. Why are there so many car burglaries? Where's the disconnect with that?
That's my point.
And so my comment to city council members, politicians, people that are like funding police departments, these are your citizens. And that's the real scoop on what's going on for them. Yeah, right?
That's a reality.
They want to know what's going on. Why are there so many cops in this neighborhood? What's going on? And this stuff travels at the speed of sound.
They'll tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think what drives...
And going back to the smoke and mirrors thing, Instagram is the smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we have the TikTok, and we have the dancing cops. We have all that. To me, there's
It's so stupid.
Yeah, there's no greater community policing unit than SWAT. There's not.
Man.
There's not.
They love it.
Yeah, I think Dallas did a great job when under Garcia, pretty much every warrant I think y'all did, there was a tweet. Don't fucking sell drugs in this city because this is what happens. Your shit gets fucked up. That's a good message because guess what? The people that are actually in that neighborhood, they're the ones affected by that motherfucker that's selling drugs.
Right.
The people that are whatever in other parts of that city, they don't even know about that shit.
They have no idea.
These people do. And the people that you're wanting to placate to, they don't even know what's going on. Or when you do hit this apartment complex or this house and the people come out and go, hey, man, thanks for doing that. Like that dude, that's community policing. Or when you do this stuff and then the kids come out and they're wanting to sit on the Bearcat because now this scene's secured. That is the biggest community policing job you'll ever do.
There you go.
But
that's right.
Why did you do it? Because you're being proactive in your police work.
Yeah.
So real quick, I have to put a shout out to Dallas PD. Like I have a history with Dallas PD.
Yeah.
I worked. I was the assistant chief to a chief in McKinney, Doug Kowalski.
Yep.
It was Dallas SWAT.
Mm-hmm.
Like a history with Dallas SWAT. Like probably one of the OGs of Dallas SWAT.
Yeah.
Trained a lot of the Dallas SWAT guys, back in the day. And, Dallas is pretty, to me, near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it is interesting in the fact of like for big city stuff, Dallas is leading in the SWAT community right now. And that's a good thing because they're fucking in Texas and stuff, but there's so many of
San Antonio too.
Yeah, of the large cities that are cowering down because from what I understand, there's even there's the Police Chiefs Association and then there's the large Police Chiefs Association, correct?
Yeah.
That's in the we're in the elite.
It's like Dumb and Dumber.
But there's another aspect to that. Like,
yeah, what's the vibe there, man?
Which one?
Well, okay, so let's talk about so when you say that, Brandon, I guess when I hear that, I think like you've got the Police Chiefs Association of Texas, right? And then you have like the National Police Chiefs. Is that what you mean?
No, so there's it's a certain amount of people in your city, right?
It is.
And what is that?
Okay.
Sure.
It's like you have it's like
150,000 or something.
Yeah, then you have the elite because we have so many people, and then you're a peon because you have 50,000 people.
I think our chief here in Round Rock now is in the major city chief.
Yeah, it's like a major. Yeah, that's what it is. Major city chief. That's what it is.
I get it. Okay, so then the question is like when you walk into that room, is there agreement?
Yeah, they're all the same.
Okay, and so then that's the next question. Like
they're all sucked into the
thing.
Into the thing.
Okay. So obviously
Scott was just disgusted as a citizen.
Okay.
I can see that. But that's a sad thing because as a cop, I feel like I let you down, even though I don't live in California.
Look,
but that fucking pisses me off that as a citizen, your job.
If you want to get the vibe of what this is and go to an accreditation conference.
That's what it is. You'll find it there.
You'll find it there.
Yeah.
You'll find a lot of warriors.
So what is so special about accreditation?
Nothing.
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like
it gets your foot in the door to something. It goes at the top of the letterhead or whatever.
Yeah. It is.
Is it because I can put my stamp on this and I'm
well, yeah. I think the best part of accreditation is actually going through the process and not being accredited, but going through the process and like making sure you have policies on things.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
But then after you get accredited, it's just, keeping records and following up on
things that just are common sense. If you were in the business world is there accreditation for Amazon as opposed to this X company? It's like, hey, these are just common fucking sense shit.
So I guess you kind of going back to the Instagram thing, the communication thing, what you were mentioning there about Dallas and, doing a narcotics raid or something like that and then putting it out. I think there's how the sausage is made and people don't necessarily want to see how the sausage is made, but they need to hear about and see the sausage, right? They need to see what happened at the end. And that's kind of what I think of when I think of that. Maybe a bad analogy, but what I'm saying is like, we did the job today and this is what we did. We basically liberated this quadplex, of this infestation of crime or whatever else. And so the rest of the community doesn't have to worry about that anymore. And they don't want to see how it got done. They don't want to see that there was a Bearcat, there were 2 Bearcats there, that there were 45 cars parked outside, especially if it's not in their neighborhood. I don't want that here. That looks so bad. That looks like a, military raid on a compound or something like that, when effectively that's what it is. But at the same time, they need to see what the result is, but they don't want to see, and they want that projected to them in a metric, right? Like crime is down or crime is up. And if it's not going down, but they're being told it's going down, so they're being gaslit, and they're seeing that on Instagram, then they just get mad at the police, right? They don't get mad at anything else. So I don't know the right way to do that, like in terms of showing people how it's made, but at some level they need to be shown how it's made, because somebody's going to run a story or a narrative on how it got made, whether you do it or not.
I think you're violating the smoke and mirrors
principle. Yeah.
But I think though, because I understand what you're saying, but the reality is, the citizens like you that are the majority, the 90% of the citizens have your view on things as far as you want to see how the sausage is made.
I do. I believe there's a huge population that's quiet.
Cops. The show Cops is on for how many fucking years? How many cop shows do they make? How many SWAT shows do they make? The good citizens want to know that bad people are getting put in jail because they're doing bad things. The minority of the instigators who just hate the police no matter what you fucking do, they don't want to see how the sausage is made, because they're the motherfuckers that are getting put to them because they're doing dumb shit. So the reality is, we want to know what our police are doing, because we want to go right on the Bearcat. We want to do ride outs. Like when I was an SRO, that was a big light bulb that came on to me, because I worked the streets all these years, went inside of school, and now I'm the sheriff of this 2,600 man school, and the relationships that I built because I was just who I was, and they would see my SWAT stuff. I would like, hey, come on. Like there's no secrets here. I'm invested in you. That was a huge thing for me. And I never saw that when I worked patrol, but now I'm in a community of, I'm going there every day. So for me, those kids who you thought were, the bad kids, or there was gangbangers like, man, I like you, Officer Hernandez. I don't like those other guys. I'm like, okay, well, you don't know them, but if you got to have a conversation with them, you would. And guess what? I would tell them sometimes, yeah, you know what? I don't really like that guy either. I get you, but you got to obey what he says, because don't be a dumbass, because you're fighting the law. That's not a good thing. So I understand what you're saying, but the reality is you do want to see it.
I do.
Most of them do. But all my friends because I always hate when I hear someone say in administration, well, society doesn't want this anymore. Well, what society are you talking to? Because the people that I hang out with, they like me. The people that I run into wherever, they're like, oh, I was on a conversation today with the phone on the lady. And she's like, oh, you're in law enforcement? Yeah. Well, thank you for your service. Thank you for all you. I mean, you get told that all the time. It's the people that you.
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
What society wants to? It's the society that wants to cancel you.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you. Amen.
What percentage of the actual society is that? Right? It's the loud ones. They seem to have a pretty loud voice.
Less than 1%.
Not a data nerd.
I don't know. I appreciate.
I think it's less than 1%.
Small, though, right? Yeah. Again, since 2020, right? We've seen the world shift.
Yeah.
Right. So we're bending a knee to it.
Well, I go back to, like you were talking about earlier, the shooting, fighting, driving.
That's where I was about to go back to.
And then they go back to, let's throw in cultural diversity. Guess what? There's no better class than cultural diversity than working the streets.
So
that's the most ironic thing ever, man.
To all the listeners out there that know me,
yeah,
and served under me as a chief,
yeah,
this shooting, fighting, and driving,
yeah,
training philosophy that I had, at Round Rock, it wasn't a dumb thing, because that's how troops die, right,
exactly.
And that was my philosophy. We talked about it.
Yeah.
That was a known thing. I've had it used against me.
Oh, really?
Oh, I have, yes.
In what way? What?
Yeah, good question. Okay. All right. That's the only one he's backed up on. So I'm going to imagine we should probably leave that one alone.
But that's my thing. That's what I believe in.
Well, that's the core. That's the fundamentals of police work. Like when it comes to the physicality of it. Now you have to have the law.
Unless you want to go to funerals all the time.
Which is, man, seems to be happening more and more.
Right.
So when I look at that on that same kind of line, going back to the cultural diversity training, I'm going to go back to you, man. Like the irony in all that is there is absolutely zero metrics for whether or not that training does you any good or not.
Yeah. Well, I would say nobody loves a warrior till the enemy's at the gate. That's a great saying.
I love that saying.
And it applies very much here. And I have seen it where they want to hold you back. They don't want you being out there for whatever reason maybe. And then there's times they walk in and go, I want you to go do what you do. When we saw that in 2020. And it was like, okay, when you cut the leash off and you go out there and do their thing, great work is done. And then it's like, okay, and then they're happy that it has happened. And then when everything calms down and the winds die down and the seas are not so choppy, then they want to put you back in the barn. Yeah. And that kills the esprit de corps and the drive and all that. And that, whereas you want to come in every day feeling like what you're doing matters, and that, like you said earlier, you're suiting up, you're putting on body armor and a weapon for a reason, because there's dangers out there. You need everybody to remember that every day, not just when they need you to be good, because it's gone bad now. Yeah. And it's like, it's not how this job happens, So
I'm very much aware that it's never going to be perfect. Like I never expect this is a human element here. This is not robots. We're not talking about a machine. However, it's often looked at it that way, and that expectation of perfection. I don't ever expect that. But what I do expect as a citizen is that the things that are glaringly obvious get better. So we go back to like body-worn camera footage and the things that are getting police officers killed. We have a problem right now. We have a big disconnect between how training is delivered and what the results are on the qualification or standard. I use big air quotes for that. Yeah. And how that translates to real life and what's actually happening out there. And I don't think anybody at the table will probably argue with me. Again, this is not me bashing. This is just me being honest. It doesn't look good a lot of the time.
No, it doesn't.
Now, I know there's a lot of things that we don't see that are very good. Again, the sausage is being made and you're not seeing that, right? But at the same time, don't gaslight me and tell me that it's all good when it isn't. So going back to training on fitness, fighting, driving, those things. I guess the question is like, is there hope for this, right? That this can change or turn a corner? But more specifically, what needs to happen in order for those things to be valued, right? And then resources and metrics being measured and things that are real, things that actually matter in that thing. Can this be done? And if so, how does it get done, Bryan?
So it fits into one of the questions that you have, right?
Yeah.
Which is, what do you have?
Is this job dead, or are we just in another cycle, and will we come out for the better?
Yeah. That's it. So let's hope it's a cycle. I don't have an answer for that, but I want to go back to a lot of what Matt Pronka talks about. Like, he's never been in law enforcement, but like, he gets it at a very high level. Like, it is those skills.
The hard skills.
The hard skills. Yeah. Man, I'm talking to my team about that now.
So it just starts with the message. Just starts with that being the mantra of sorts. Right. That this has to be a priority.
Yeah. Will we turn turn the corner on it? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, but
I mean, if that's the answer, that's the answer. I think it's a burning one, and I think it's not just mine. I know there's a lot of officers asking that same question. Going back to the questions that got posed publicly, is they want to have hope, and they're just not sure maybe where to reach for it right now. Yeah, and they're being told you need to take this. This needs to be your personal responsibility. I believe that 100%.
I do too.
The government is never going to give you all the training that you could possibly need, and they're never going to be able to fund it in the way that you might need it. It's just That's just an absolute. So there has to be
that's a fact.
Yeah,
Yes.
There's no changing that. So don't expect that to happen. I get that, but they're being told you need to go out and do this. At the same time, they're being bashed often for not doing it at the level that maybe somebody else expects them to do. And again, like that comes back to like, well, what is the standard? What is good? What is bad? And what we're measuring that against is all the body-worn camera footage that we're seeing. And so there's this large confusion around like, how do we actually make that better? Like, where do we put the training dollars? What should the training actually be? Who's delivering the training? All of those things have to be answered.
Have you ever shot a police qualification?
Several times.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your thoughts?
Well, the two words that come to mind first is it's too easy.
Too easy, right?
It's the second word would be it's unrealistic to anything that I've ever seen happen, like on any kind of body, on any kind of OIS or anything else.
That was my next question. Yeah. What do you see on OIS camera?
It doesn't look anything like a qualification.
Right. Because why?
Because it's not what it is.
Because you see the shooting happening faster.
Oh yeah. Oh, so yeah.
Okay.
So so what's really happening? It's much faster. There's always movement involved.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's multiple factors that led up to that never happened on the qualification range. Yeah. Again, like what precipitated all of this? You mentioned the word like de-escalation. What does that even mean? But more specifically, like what happens when words don't work, right? Or when there aren't any words, right? So you can't, how do you train? That's the answer to that question. I know it's a long one, but sorry.
Well, if I could jump in on that. So national average of police in America, first round hits is less than 20%.
Yep. I know that's
okay.
That. Yep.
So, but I would challenge you to go to any business or, and you go into law enforcement as far as training and they say, okay, and you just have the percentages up there and you say, okay, overwhelmingly law enforcement is at less than 20% on this data point, but you don't list what it is. I would suggest to you that most people say we need to work on that.
Yeah.
And then when you put it in as firearms training, nope, it costs too much money. We don't. I've heard command staff say we're not in the warrior business here. And not necessarily with Dallas, but I've heard people say this, and it is an assault on that mindset and that way of thinking that is detrimental to this business.
Okay.
And but you go to any business model and saying something that you are, what in law enforcement is more criticized than officer involved shooting? Like without question, that is the number one thing.
Yep.
Bad things happen. Even if they're totally justified, like we don't go out there trying to take a life. You only do it because you either have to take care of yourself or somebody else.
Yeah.
It's a bad thing even if you have to do it. So sometimes it's needed. So, but yet it's something that's so critical, but unless you're in SWAT or narcotics or some other place, I get officers come to our training out of town. They go, we get no outside training or training other than a qual. A qual is not training.
No,
it's an examination of what you've already learned.
Yeah.
And to your point, whether the qual is challenging or not, that's up to each department. They have to fit inside, like for Texas, TCO guidelines. Mm-hmm. And so, we see this all the time, but yet, less than 20% is, the first hit ratio. That's unacceptable.
Well, listen, you take it back to...
qualifications in general are stupid. It's a box that has to be checked. That's all it is.
Yeah. You have to do this so that you can move on to the next step. But what's the next step, right? Like you did this because you had to get through the academy. So we needed to make sure we taught you all the things to pass the test, right? You passed the test, again, very low metric in terms of the too easy comment. But you said something there a second ago, man, that was the 20% in business. Look, if I run a business and it's a performance-based business, businesses are in business to make a profit, right? At the end of the day, that's what they do. If my sales goal, if my quota, whatever that is at number X, and I only hit 20% of that, that's fucking unacceptable.
If you're a private business, you're out of business.
You're out of business. Yeah. It's unacceptable. And here we're talking about human life, right? What is the disconnect, right? Yeah. Like, you don't have to answer that question, but
I will.
Okay.
So the disconnect there is that it's really all about the guy that's in charge that doesn't want to lose his job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
at least for the next 3 or 4 years.
That's so wrong.
It is.
So I go back to.
Does that resonate with you?
Oh, fuck yeah, it does.
Yes, it does.
So I go back to
you want honest, right?
Yeah. So city manager.
Yeah.
And chief.
Yeah.
So how much pressure is the city managers putting on these police chiefs?
I can't answer that. In some places, it's a lot.
But
in my experience, not much.
I mean, like
in my experience, the city management has really just been very believing, accepting of what the dude in that position has brought up.
Yeah, like
I'm not.
Like if I'm the city manager,
I was in that position before, so like I've got questions.
I mean, there's if I'm the city manager and I hire Matt as my chief, hey Matt, go fucking do your job. What do you need me to do for you to help do this job?
That's not how it goes.
Like that's the way it should be.
No, dude, that's not.
Like, hey Matt, I'm hiring you for this.
Yeah.
What do you need? Hey, Brandon, I need this, this, and this. Okay. And I give you all this, and you still don't do the job that you told me you're going to do. Then we can have some conversation. But
keep going.
If you're doing your stuff, then let's have you keep doing your stuff, Matt. Like, I just don't understand that. Like, and what if it's not broke, don't fix. Yeah. Like, I hired you for this job, and if you're not doing this job,
you guys have way too much common sense. That's not how it goes.
And I'm not very smart. I'm really not.
Got a lot of common sense.
Common sense is not very common.
Yeah, I'm still doing this damn job. I'm not very smart.
You're not thinking in political terms.
Yeah, I just don't. Like, why? Like, that's what we talked about this earlier. Like, I think that's why Trump resonates with so many people.
There you go.
Because there's just no fucks given. Like, and look what's happening.
No flex given. That's exactly right.
It's amazing when, like, hey, we're not doing DEI anymore. We're not doing this. And then all of a sudden, all these companies are like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore either. Because someone is bold enough.
So I want to go back to Scott's point about no business.
Yeah.
We have seen every business fold to that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Every business has folded to that. Mm-hmm. Most of them have. Mm-hmm. The world's changed.
Yeah, right? You're right. I understand that. It frustrates me. It doesn't sit well, and I think that's the frustration that persists. Is it's not sitting well. It seems to be in this. The word stagnation has been used a lot, like in the last couple of years, just kind of with the economy or whatever. But to me, it's different than that. It's languishing. Like stagnation is something that you can kind of measure and you can kind of see. Languishing is like more of a, we don't know what to do. We're just kind of hanging out and floating through and going to see what happens. And that's not a good place for anybody to be at any level, right? Not in life, not in relationships, not in business, not in policing, not in shooting. Like, I'm just going to kind of go out to the range today and I'm going to see what happens. And I'll decide maybe at the end whether it was good or bad. I feel like that's kind of where we're at. But the people inside are not the ones driving it. It's the people outside that are driving that with the fear that ends up coming from the community or the city council or the media or whatever else. To me, I just look at it and go, how much worse? And again, I'm not bashing policing. I'm not bashing officers. Anybody that listens to me on any show, any episode, I'm very pro law enforcement. I try to be as realistic as I can about it. But how much worse does it have to get before the corner gets, some of the corner at least gets rounded off?
Look, man, in my experience, most of the city council members that I've ever worked with, they want their police to be successful.
They don't hate cops, right?
They don't hate cops. They just want the truth. They don't want the smoke and mirrors. But,
so how often?
But they don't know that they're getting it, right? So
yes.
Scott, let me ask you this. You're a civilian, right? Based on what you've seen and what you know, what advice would you give to cops today?
It's a really great question.
Let me put that on you, bro.
Yeah. So I tried. So when I'm doing these things, like nobody's ever asked me that. Usually I'm on the other side of the table, so to speak.
Well, I'm going to turn it on you now.
Yeah. So I
don't ask me any questions, Bryan.
I always go back to. Why does anybody do anything, right? And why do they choose to, a life of whatever? Like in this case, a life in law enforcement, and at some point it starts with a why. There has to be a deep rooted, internal understanding and drive to do this thing. And there's going to be some reasons attached to that. So, you have to revisit that. That has to be really strongly established. And I think I would ask an officer to revisit that. Right. And so then when the bad things happen,
revisit the why am I doing this?
The why. Yeah. Right. And if it's not well developed and if you can't clearly answer that for yourself or to somebody else, like you're asking me this question now, you have some work to do. Right. The next thing that comes in is like, if you don't like what's happening, even if you're feeling this drive, what can you do to control it? Right. And you eliminate all the things that are outside of your control and you focus on what you can control.
Brandon, do you remember 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. What was my advice?
Yeah.
Focus on the things you can control.
Yeah, you can control. Yeah.
That's right.
And so
you nailed it, Scott.
Yeah. So and obviously there are things that you can and there are things that you can't. And there are many things you can't control. So I would not pretend for 2 seconds that I know what it's like to be a police officer, to have to deal with things. But your everyday interactions is where that needs to start. Because if you've got stinking thinking, if you got a shitty attitude, that behavior is going to show up.
Right.
There's work you have to do. Right. And then from there, going back to some of the other things like the skills, right? Yes. That is something you're going to have to take personal responsibility for and look for the places where you can get the skills or improve the skills. But first you have to honestly evaluate, where are you in this thing? Where do I need to put my time? And then how much time do I have? What's realistic? Yeah. I'm an idiot. When it comes to stuff, and I always try to simplify it down, and I come from the fitness space, so it's really easy for me to do it that way. So, I look at it, I go, okay, so you want to lose 100 pounds, right? Like, where does that start? Well, first off, you have to get your mind around, like, what is that going to take to do? Then there needs to be a well-developed plan. Is my goal realistic? Is my plan realistic? If it's not, it can be adjusted. There is no one size fits all to any of this. And if you're waiting for somebody to present that to you, then you're going to be in trouble, because there's this concept of the individual and there's the concept of the individual's situation, which is the controllables and uncontrollables that exist there. So you have to step back and reassess that stuff. And I think, going into work every day, dealing with citizens, dealing with fucktards. You brought that to the table today in a TAC talk downstairs or whatever. Like, that's hard to do. Like, I know what that feels like, right? I do know what that feels like. I don't have to deal with it on the side of, civil unrest and things like that. But my point being is, like, if you're treating everybody as if that's what they are, then that's what everybody is. Yeah. Right. And so the constant focusing on things that are so far out of your control, that tends to consume you. There are many things an officer, I think, can do to improve their situation. Right. And at the same time, be real about there's many things I can't do. And if you can't do both those things, again, reach deep inside and go, why am I doing this job and how can I do it better? And then have some type of a plan or organized structure to be able to do it, not just show up, right? That's a great place to start. I can't answer it any deeper than that, because I got about 75 other questions for the individual, right? That is trying to make those improvements.
So I think 2 years ago, like, my comment was, you can focus on things you can control. Yeah. Focus on your fitness, your training, your mental health. It was simple.
Which were all tied in together.
Exactly.
It all affects all of the behaviors and all the other things that happen out there.
Dude, I think to me, you're qualified to be a chief.
Yeah. I was getting recruited for a Florida agency the other day. I was like, dude, I think I'm too old for this shit.
I think you can do it.
Well, I think too, like, for me, where I find myself in my career is that I cannot turn off the switch to not give a fuck.
Amen.
I wish I could. It's the biggest curse. I like, why can I not give a fuck? Because it pisses me off that I give a fuck. And then I'll be pissed off for a few days, and I'm like, I'm going to do this.
Have you sat through the Jorge debrief?
Yeah. Well, I watched it, and then we had I had Kim, his wife, on yesterday. We did a podcast with her,
John Connor,
and all that.
So, God, man.
So it's one of those deals where, to me, where I find my passion in this is to pass on whatever knowledge I have, whatever little that may be, pass on what other people have instilled in me, and to continue to push. What are you going to do? Because also at the end of the day, I can't control what administration does.
Me either.
Yeah. But it also is, but I think having this conversation, there really does need, because I'm just one of those guys. If you've got an issue, let's talk about it. What do I need to be responsible for? Where did I let you down? And I don't know. Like, you have your perspective, let me know. And I think there actually needs to be conversations with administration, with their people. Like, true.
Speak up.
Yeah, like, hey, we're not fucking rank here.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
I'm just Brandon. Talk to me.
You have to speak up.
Yeah. Because you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
I get it. You're getting pulled in so many directions. I get that. Like, but there's also, it's just like a family.
All right.
Like, there's different seasons in your life. And, you know, I was listening to Dr. T and her American Warriors deal today, and they were talking about, hey, you know, there's just times where you got to put your phone down for 30 minutes and do this. There's just times where I got to say no to things. Kind of going back to what you said, there's things that you probably could have done instead of go out to the range. You could have gone, met with somebody else, had another fucking meeting that got you nowhere. But you know what? I'm going to pause that meeting or whatever, and I'm going to be with the troops, because that is actually building.
How much value is in that?
More value than any dumbass meeting that you go to.
Cover that at the beginning. Yeah.
The text that I sent you today.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And that's
these dudes don't even know me yet.
right. No. And that's a good thing, because at the end of the day, they want to know that you understand what they're doing. Because when you do that, when you do got to tell them no, because you will have to tell them no. You will have to say, no, we're not doing that. At least there's a relationship, because rules without relationship lead to rebellion. When you have a relationship and you do have to say no, there's not necessarily rebellion. There's
I like it.
Yeah. I respect you. I know what you're about. So therefore I can take the no, or I can be told no, but let's have a conversation with this. And now we have an understanding. And you might change that no into, well, you know what? Maybe not now, or maybe, yeah, because I had no idea, because now we have a relationship that we can actually build something on, not just, well, you're this rank and I'm not this rank.
So I'm really surprised that the question from you guys hasn't come up about, like, what chiefs are we hiring today?
So
I still have a few more questions.
This leads into that. Just going back to the question you asked me, I think, because it's very easy to do this. I think it's in our human nature to do so. But when you asked me that question, the thing that popped into my head was the game of comparison.
Yeah.
Because she's an evil bitch. And you will, if you're constantly comparing everything to everything else instead of, again, looking internally, that can really mess you up. And so you strike me as a human that doesn't do that. Like, I'm not comparing myself to another chief. I'm not comparing myself to another officer, to another shooter, to another fighter, to another driver. I'm focused on the shit that I need to do and how I need to do it. And going back to what Matt was saying, like, what ends up happening is everybody's, well, how's that guy doing? Or let me just copy that, because that seems to be the formula. And that systemically becomes a massive issue.
So why is that?
So that goes to your question that we need to circle back to, which is, like, who are these people that we're hiring now, and why are we hiring them? These chiefs, like, why are we hiring these people in? And maybe I just answered the question, I don't know, but what's your answer to that?
Because it's politically expedient to do that.
It's easy.
It's easy. Like, we're looking for certain things, right?
No waves made.
Yeah. Right. Let's not rock the boat here.
Yeah.
Right. Because that creates work.
Yeah.
And that creates conflict.
Yeah.
And that creates me having to actually have to ask a hard question or deal with a tough conversation or whatever. To me, going back to the fear, the other word you used was weakness. That is so cowardly to me. Yeah. I've had bosses. That's why I don't have one anymore, because I was the guy sitting at the round table in the boardroom, and that didn't go over too well. And
have you guys watched any of the videos of the New Orleans police chief in the last 3 months?
Unfortunately, yeah.
and your thoughts on that.
How did this happen?
Brilliant person.
Yeah. How did this happen? Like, who thought this was a good idea?
Yeah.
Right. Who thought this was a good idea?
Right.
And who thought? And the second was like, who thought it was a good idea to put him in front of national television?
That's the best leader.
This is the best we could come up with.
That's exactly
I'm sure it was a
right.
national survey that
Yes.
person was picked out of 3 people of the whole nation.
Just the defeat
What is
that I would
it?
feel as an officer,
Yeah.
having that as my leader would be. I don't know if I could be more demoralized. Like, this is what's representing me on a daily basis, and ultimately this is what's representing the community of my community as officers to the rest of the community and now to the world. How embarrassing!
So the major cities out there have got this problem. Every one of them.
Yeah, and they're hiring him. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did she not come from Oakland? Was she not in Oakland before?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Which, think about that for a second. Like, we're hiring, and like, you guys got a great. We're talking about Eddie Garcia. You guys got a great one. Don't have a fantastic city. He was up against a lot of stuff, and I was happy for him. I was also super bummed out that he left. My point being is, like, a lot of times that happens. So there's a question for you: why are we not promoting from within? Why are we not taking people from the departments and from the agencies that they grew up in that understand that agency and understand that community and putting them in a place of responsibility that would make them responsibility back to the thing that grew them and put them in that position in the first place? Why are we taking a multi-failed city over and over again that's gone through 5 chiefs in 6 years or whatever the case is and just transplanting that into another one? To me, that, and then they're there for 3 years. It's like the term is pigeon management. They fly in, they shit all over everything, and then they fly out. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Pigeon man, I've never heard of that. I like that.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Why is that happening, man?
I can't answer that for every city. I don't know why that happens, but you have to think about, after a certain number of evolutions of that, what's in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Because those people that have like shit on the city have now promoted people
into positions. Yeah.
to those positions.
Yeah.
So really, what's in the pipeline? Look, dudes, the pipeline is messed up. Like,
I would just say this is that having our new chief was just sworn in your states. He's my 7th chief in 25 years. Okay, so
is that good?
No,
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I've had good ones. I've had good ones and ones that I didn't care for too much. But and we had good ones from internal, and then obviously Garcia came from, he was external, and we didn't know who. You don't know who you're getting till you get them. But in my observations, I think, especially when you have a turnover of city management leaders, like the city manager for us hires the police chief,
same,
and I think a lot of them. I think a lot of them are like, I want my person.
Fulfills my personal interest.
And whether they truly believe that person is the best, or they're beholden to them, because if you're a new city leader and you give somebody that's been there, a career person at that department, like well, his allegiances or her allegiances are to other persons, not to me. Whereas I bring an outsider in, doesn't have those allegiances already baked into the pie, so to speak. Yeah. So therefore, I am their safety blanket, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
And I think that's a lot of it. And again, the city manager that hired Garcia, whether he really knew him or not, is now the city manager of Austin, and brought Garcia down there to be his assistant. So he, whatever, I don't think he knew him before that, but he saw in my opinion, a good dude.
Success.
That success that does things the right way, and, brought him along down there too. Yeah. So he, it was good the way that happened there. But, I think, in talking to officers around the country, they're like, that person was brought in because he's beholding to her or to them, whatever. And like that allegiance is to them, between them, not for us.
So we always hear about like the secret society of policing, right? Like there's the thin blue line and there's all of the things that come along with that. I wonder, like on the chief's side of things,
okay,
is there a secret society there? I mean,
No.
Okay, so my question is like, are there guys like Brian? Does Brian have friends? Right? They're in a chat group, right? Are you okay? So you're on an island.
Hey, Scott, you know who my friends are? The people here at this conference.
Yeah.
They're not chiefs. I'm not friends with any chiefs.
So you got a bunch of lowlifes. There's your friends.
Knuckle draggers. Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. That's my thing is like, is there a contingency of people that are going, this needs to change. We recognize we are outliers here and we're going to go ruffle feathers because we don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks. And we're going to, I mean, you see some of these people publicly, some of these sheriffs down in Florida are savages and I love it.
Yeah, I love that shit, man.
I brought them up.
Yeah. And not only did we shoot him,
and I'm just going to say, Brendan, that's why I work for a sheriff.
Yeah, no, I love it. Like I wish everybody was like beef with T Justice. You know, you some bitch. Like, that would be the best.
But I will say, you asked me if there was ever a department that I'd be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Fort Worth might be one.
No, good old cowboy hats and all that.
Fort Worth PD,
Yeah.
Chancey.
Oh yeah, Chance's a good dude.
I got Chancey coming in tomorrow.
That's good. I want to shift the focus off of chiefs to the other administrators, assistant commanders.
Yeah. The soul killing.
Exactly. So as a chief, the chief,
yeah.
What do you do with these fuckers that are just destroying the morale of the department? How do you deal with that?
What do you have? Civil service?
Yes.
You suck it up.
Okay.
Right. Because that's what civil service gives you.
Yeah. It's
they give you a shit sandwich.
Yeah. So what do you do for that command staff person that earned the job because he took a test or she took a test?
Took a test.
And then they have just, they're incompetent. What do you do with that person? Like, do you have a conversation with them and go, hey?
Yeah, I'm working on that now too. Myself, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that like? What's that process like? I mean, is it just constant?
Yeah, it's constant.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's meetings. It's just being in the right places at the right times. It's what?
Documenting. It's
okay.
It's just nonsense.
So when it's not civil service.
Private sector.
Yeah, okay.
Just be able to just send them to the door.
Yeah. So tell me all the reasons why I shouldn't fire you or whatever or demote you. It's all right here, man.
Not even that, right? I mean,
there's not even a conversation is what I'm saying. Yeah. By the time it gets to that, you should have seen this coming a long time ago. And
look, man, this is the level that kills departments.
Yeah.
And in many cases, it's not even the chief. It's this level.
Yeah.
So he's fighting that battle.
Yeah. Because they're all like competing against each other. And
that's the thing.
Yeah.
They want to be the next.
Yes.
Making decisions based on promotability.
Yeah. What can I do or not do so I'm in the chief's favor?
Yeah.
To me, as a chief, I would fucking lose my mind if you're making that decision.
Dude, that's why
it's a tough job. It's a tough job, man.
I'm like, hey, man.
Yeah.
Like, no. Like, like, do your fucking job that you know is right. There's. They
don't even know what's right.
I think too because
they've lost it.
Yeah.
They've lost it.
Yeah. And it is. So if they're not civil service, a little bit easier, I guess. Or not. Bye.
Bye.
See ya. Yeah.
Well, I guess, I mean, okay, so let me play devil's advocate here. And easier said than done when the pipeline is as broken as it's been.
It's broken.
Right? So you can buy, but what are you putting in place? Are you throwing out the baby with the bathwater?
Go deep. I would go to patrol.
I love that answer.
Level. Yes.
Yeah, I love that answer.
I would find leaders at the lowest level.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care about seniority or test or any of that bullshit.
So let me ask you this.
Find leaders.
So the mid-level administrators,
right?
What is so, quote, special about their job that you got to take all these tests? I mean, the reality, what is because I've never done it. So therefore I can't say what the job is like. From my perspective, it's a lot of I'm going to get an email and I'm going to send it up to my chain that's above me. And then that person is going to tell me, and then I'm going to send another email back to the person who asked me or the issue where it started. And then I'm just kind of like this in between, just bouncing this ball back and forth. And I don't get anything done besides I'm just the guy who is just the deliverer of messages to and from, up and down, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like what else do they have to do besides meetings? I mean, and I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just like, that's most of the perception that just the silver badge sees.
I don't know, man. Do you think you could survive in your department without that mid-level?
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
too many chiefs and not enough.
I always go back to
too many chiefs, not enough.
Yeah, I always go back to SWAT. Someone has earned the right to be a leader on that team.
Yep.
You gave them that title.
That was selected by the team.
And all that kind of stuff. So now I'm going downrange away from the quote command, and I'm going to have to make a decision based on real time that I got to do right now without asking for quote permission and all that kind of stuff. But yet now I'm not qualified to make another decision that is very easy.
An administrative decision.
Yeah. I'm like, what? I don't understand that. To me, and I'm not saying it's me, but like the whole pipeline it's an easy thing. It's an easy thing. Like there's nothing hard about this.
So at one point in my career, I was a captain.
Yeah.
Division commander.
Yeah.
Worst job in my career.
Yeah.
Absolutely the worst. And I think, like, why am I even here?
Yeah.
I either have to go up or I'm going down because I can't do this.
Yeah.
And so I went up.
Yeah.
Did the up thing. Like, I guess I'll go up.
Yeah. No.
But just, to the listeners out here, I mean, we can absolutely survive without captains and commanders. We don't need you.
No.
It's a bold statement.
We don't need you.
It's a bold statement.
We can do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's very frustrating, that middle management, because they are stuck. Because some of them have fucked up so much that they know they're not moving.
Dude, it's so killing.
Yeah.
Inside the walls of any police department, sheriff's office, that mid-level is so killing.
Yeah. And I think for me personally,
prove me wrong.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like what I would have if I had one of those soul killing mid-level person, I think I would just have that conversation. Listen, you can go guard the fucking parking lot. I don't give a fuck. You can stay at home. To me, morale would be better. This place would be better if you just stayed at home. I don't give a shit because I ain't paying you. Like, go.
I'm going to send this podcast to people.
But it comes to a point where
stand up.
Yes.
Be a leader.
Yeah.
Take care of your people. Focus on the mission.
Right.
Go get another job.
No, you're right. You're right. Because I always go back to,
you're not helping us.
Yeah. There's always changes in any department. Like, hey, a new blah, blah, blah comes into whatever unit. There's always, every couple of years, there's always movement. And every time someone new comes in, they got to make their mark. So when they try to do something, it's like
a one up.
Yeah. It's a resume thing. And I'm like,
Matt, promotability.
Yeah. I'm like,
come on, Matt.
You never ask anybody in this unit, what makes this place better? How do I make your job more efficient? How do we get all these people to work together?
Yes. For the overall
to me,
not for their own CI.
That will make you promotable because now you have the power of the people that you're leading. Yeah. That's promotability right there.
And they're all fearful. They're all scared. They're going to get shit on.
Yeah.
And
I get it. They're
stupid. It's weakness.
Yeah.
It's just being weak.
So one of the questions, how do we fix poor leadership? I mean, I know how you do it on SWAT because we can we can manage our own for the most part. Like there's some of that culture that we still have. Now, do I see it fading from when I first got here? I do.
Oh, yeah.
I do.
Me too.
I will say that. So I'm not going to sit here and say we have it all fixed and all, but how do we fix that? I mean, I always go back. Everybody says, well, you need to promote, like more SWAT guys need to promote. I get that, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how you fix it sometimes.
I think there's one word, and it's accountability, and that's what's lacking.
Yeah.
That's my take from the outside looking in.
So we want our leaders to stand up, be accountable, show up, right?
Yeah. Wild, right? Yeah. Wild.
It's crazy, right?
And again, going back to you were talking about Garcia and kind of what he did, and that was making yourself responsible first and putting it out there. And I think that might sound corny, like express your goals and your plan to the team, and then you got to live up to that. And then in his case, successful, right? Again, by all the accounts here, at least at this table, right? And the people that you guys have talked to, successful. And if that's even like part of it, then why aren't we adopting that? Like, and as him as an example, why aren't we adopting that? And you've already answered the question as to why they're not adopting it. There's fear and weakness and things like that. But I think it's accountability. And the problem is like, who's actually holding that person accountable to anything? And if they're married to the city manager and they're married to all that stuff, that person isn't holding him accountable to anything.
We're scared of that too.
Exactly.
Right? So we're fearful of holding the chief accountable, because the public likes him, the council likes him or her, whatever.
Yeah.
So we're scared about holding people accountable.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, like this is my funky butt.
I mean, and I don't know what the answer to that is.
Well,
like
the whole system is screwed
where,
up.
yeah, where does that process even start? Like,
right.
You know, where's it? Because
you got to speak up.
It's good. That's it. That's what it comes down to. And it has to come from every angle. It has to come from the city manager. It has to come from the city council. It has to come from the mayor. It has to come from the public. They have to be vocal about this. And to your point, going back, there's portions of your city that recognize what the police work is and what it looks like and how the sausage is made and the effectiveness of that. And they might not like it all the time, but they recognize the importance of it, versus the majority, which generally has the louder voice, are the ones that are funding things, that are giving money to city council campaigns and things like that, have zero clue what any of that is until those people start recognizing what the reality of all of this is, and they're impacted by it. And that goes back to my question about how much worse does it have to get? Well, I tell you what, when there's multiple car burglaries in the gated community, right, then there's some noise being made, and almost immediately a response comes to that. Almost immediately. Under Garcia, during 2020, when things were wildly out of control, like in our city at a lot of different levels, our neighborhood that I lived and owned a business in looked like a demilitarized zone. I've never seen anything implode as fast as that. And I'm sure there's many other parts in the nation which are way worse than anything I had to experience. But for me, it was devastating on a lot of different levels. I didn't feel safe, and for me to say that, like it's pretty rough, right? Like my daughters didn't feel safe. My community didn't feel safe. And they're saying that to their friends, but they're not saying that to anybody else. Right. And I will tell you,
dude, you're right on the money.
I made a phone call. I made a phone call to somebody who I knew had a voice, basically the red phone, to the city level. And I go, listen, the shit's out of control down here and we need to talk about it. Here's what happened. And some bad stuff had to happen for finally for me to take that step. And it should have never got there in the first place. But it did, and I tell you what he did. It went to the chief's office. He sent me over the captain of the division. Yeah, and he sat in front of me for an hour to listen to me, and I told him what the problems were. That's all I needed to do. The next day, there were 6 units up and down my street all day long doing police work. Yeah, not driving through. They were pulling over cars that needed to be pulled over. They were shaking down people that needed to be shaken down, and the impact that had in our neighborhood immediately was it was a night and day difference. Now, there's always going to be the ebbs and the flows of the things that come in, but it absolutely makes a difference.
And that lasted for exactly 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So
and it was gone.
It was gone. So yes. It needs to be a constant conversation. You have to be telling them what's going on. So for, again, the most of this audience is probably cops or people that know cops or, whatever else. But the bottom line is like, there has to be some citizen activity and responsibility in holding your police accountable to the things that they need to. And that means holding the chief accountable to what they need to be doing.
We need to fire more police chiefs in this country 100%. At a high level.
Right. I have video. Let me show you what it looks like down here. Yes. Right? Like, let me, I've got the documentation, the same documentation you have. And I don't want to hear about your crime stats because my window just got broken into last night. Somebody burned my car down literally in the parking lot behind me, right? We've got an issue down here. Why does it have to get to that? Like, now I'm seeing police officers, but yes, it was short-lived, man. It was short-lived. But that's the way it has to. Again, the accountability, I think, the citizens have to take the responsibility here instead of bitching and moaning about it or putting their head in the sand because it's not happening in my backyard. I don't need to worry. I need to worry about that. Yeah. That's part of the answer. It's not the whole answer, but I think that's part of the answer.
People have to start speaking up.
They're weak.
They're weak.
No. They're afraid of what they're going to look like to their neighbors and what they're going to look like in their circle of friends by calling out the fact that we have a very specific population that are now conglomerating here, and they may look a little different than us, right? And they have a little bit of a different culture than us, but there seems to be a problem there. But I don't want to say that because that could make me look bad, right? That could get me labeled with something that would make me have to answer questions as to why I would make a complaint or say something like that. That's weak. It's cowardly.
God bless our police officers today.
Who's going to want that job? That's the question, right? Going back to the pipeline.
God love them.
That's why I'm here.
No,
that's why I'm here, man.
No, and I think, and I appreciate that. Like, so when I hear you say, Scott, man, I'm not doing this, or I'm not bashing this, or if anyone listens to you, they know your heart. So don't ever apologize because everybody knows that. Because to me, I mean, I've told you this, I'm the most anti-cop there is, man, because I see the fuckery of goes on, or I see the lack of word, Brandon. Yeah. I mean, it really is like, this is a craftsmanship.
Yes.
Do the stuff to be a craftsman of your craft. Don't just fucking show up and go, I'm fucking cool. I got this badass badge on and
mailing it.
I can get the chicks, or I can be some hot chick on Instagram and I get all these followers because I post that.
It's
whatever.
It's like, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, like what? Do your shit, but at the end of the day, like
Instagram has killed our profession.
Yeah, like this fucking job is about doing right and fighting people that want, evil.
Right. Are you helping or hurting?
That's all I've ever wanted to do. That's all I want. That's all I ever want to do. I promise when I no longer can breathe on this earth, until that point, I will still want to do what's right.
And the Nextdoor app will tell us if we're successful.
Yeah. So this is another question that was posed. So when it comes to like particularly SWAT tactics. Yeah. That's been a big topic over the few years. There's been a big shift in tactics in SWAT from, dynamics are bad. You had the NTOA came out with their big ass statement. You had the Breonna Taylor, which chiefs jump on that and go, well, this is the reason why, which that is a false narrative. Like everything, when a chief says that, I have to go back and go, do you really know what you're talking about when you say that? Because that's not the truth. Like the reality is there was a dude who that was in the parking lot that shot into a window. Like that had nothing to do with dynamic. It had nothing to do with no knock. That dude just shot into the window for whatever reason, right, wrong, or whatever. We're not even going to get into that. That had nothing to do with that. There was a search warrant. They didn't serve it dynamically. They announced and announced and announced and announced. So when you say that, I lose a lot of credibility with that. So going back to the question, so are SWAT tactics being changed by administrators because of fear, or is it being changed because of the level of the operators going, oh, we think this is better? What do you see?
Be ready, Matt, because I'm going to come back to you on that question.
I don't know, man. That's a good question. I think it's probably a little bit of both, honestly.
Yeah. Because so do you see administrators cowering down because of fear? Like,
Yes.
let's not be aggressive.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
So this leads into this. So Matt, how long you been on SWAT?
20 years.
Okay. Where did you learn about SWAT before you got onto SWAT?
I didn't.
And then how did you learn about SWAT when you were there?
From the senior guys.
Right, from the senior guys. And where did they learn?
From their senior guys.
From their senior guys. So they understood the history.
Sure.
Right. Yes. They understood the kind of the club within the club. They'd seen all the bad stuff. They'd seen all the good stuff. They'd learned. They'd see people made mistakes. They made their own mistakes and along the way. And I take this back to like what people think of policing. You learn from people on the inside, right? And we've talked about this, Brandon, how bad a job law enforcement does at telling the story of law enforcement, right? And so unless you're on the inside with senior guys like that, you don't get that. I was shocked when I went to SWAT school at the lack of knowledge that there were 76 of us in that room. Yeah. I was shocked at the lack of knowledge of their own history of SWAT on something they were trying to get into. I was also shocked at the kind of the blank stares and the lack of knowledge on the things that have impacted how SWAT is handled now, going back to what you were saying in terms of tactics being changed and whatnot, and all the information we were giving, the case law, the incidents, the landmark cases, and even stuff that had happened very, very locally right here in this state, and how that impacts them and their lack of knowledge on it. And I think that's a big problem going back to the pipeline as you're getting people in here. So to your question, like who's changing it? I don't have the answer to that question, but my gut's telling me that it's the lack of the institutional knowledge and how it's been pre-programmed and where they're getting that information from. Like, why did you sign up for this, man? Like, why did you sign up for this? Do you even understand what this really is? Yeah. I don't know what the answer to the question might be, if there's really even a question in that, except for the ones that I asked you. But how do you feel about that?
I want to hop on this, Matt. When did you get on SWAT?
2005.
2005. So I got on SWAT in 1987. Yeah, I'm old, man.
Taped on your flashlight.
So where did we get the tactics for that in 87? I think they were self-developed. Where did we learn new tactics? For me, I learned them from BORTAC in El Paso. It was the, special forces stuff. Yeah. And it was dynamic. Yeah. It was no-knock, dynamic stuff. Yeah. But today it's, surround and call out.
Yeah. It's
stuff, right.
It's insane.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of people that believe in that.
Yeah.
They're wrong.
But and I guess I go back to
just from a loss of life perspective, like unless there's somebody to be rescued or a life to be saved, and if it's just evidence, then why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
And I don't think like we're going to have that discussion in another future podcast if everything goes right.
Okay.
With some other organizations, but because I think you have a point to all that, but I also go back to there's just things that everyone needs to know in the history, but you also have to be able to still do those tasks, and you have to be able to do them proficiently, and you just can't stop it, because once you stop, you can never get that skill back. And I feel like, and Matt feels like the same way.
Okay.
There's going to be my biggest fear is that we have cultivated a generation of SWAT guys and girls that will never have the ability. They don't have the knowledge base to ever do anything, clearing space, in a fast moving environment.
Right.
And they have to be able to do that.
You're describing law enforcement in general.
Yeah. And they're not going to do that.
SWAT, everything.
Yeah, they're never going to be able to do that because someone said, we can't do that.
Put the handcuffs on.
Yeah. And then that someone now is over the team. So everyone who comes on that team just knows what they know. Right. So there's no old guys to say, hey, I'm sure the math's the same way. There was things that you learned in 2005 that are still the foundation of stuff, but there's also things that if you added to it because of technology, you added to it because of skill set, you've added to it because of lessons learned, but you're adding on to this foundation, and it's not exactly the same, but it has the same footprint on it, and stuff.
For the record, man, like before you even got on SWAT, I did 100 at least dynamic no-knock entries. So at least 100.
Yeah. So it's like I get technology. Like, okay, now we have NVGs. Okay, we didn't have NVGs in 2003 when I got on the team. We just didn't have that. Now we do. Okay, so that's another added tool that we have in our tool belt.
But that shouldn't change the basic foundational principles and fundamentals, right? Exactly.
Explosive breaching, when I first got on the team, was something that we were doing, and then it's evolved. Like when you first got on the team, y'all's explosive breaching program is not the same as it is now.
Sure.
Are you still using the same explosives? Yes, you're using explosives, but the experience level has changed that. So we're now more efficient, and I guarantee in 10 years from now, there'll be other ways to do it, but you're still using that. Equipment has changed. I mean, now there's way more equipment. So with all that, I understand there is some change into that, but at the end of the day, the fucking principles of it are the principles of it. Like with shooting, we have better guns now than we did years ago.
So it should be better than 20% is what you're telling me.
Ammo's better and stuff.
Right.
But the foundation of the foundation of shooting, those hard skills, they haven't fucking changed. So why do we want to change this for everybody else? I go back to the most dangerous thing that we do in police work is a traffic stop. We do those daily. Has any big city chief, has any chief came down and said, you know what? Traffic stops are dangerous. We're going to stop those. We have not changed the tactics of police traffic stops for the most part. You either approach on this side or you approach on this side. We haven't said, hey, man, you know what? We feel that these are dangerous because of proven data. So now we're not making traffic stops without two-man elements. So you better have they don't do that unless it's dire situations. But I go back to, well, we want to do it for the safety of this. And chiefs will spin that. But yet, when they spin it over here, well, we want to do it for safety. That has nothing to do with it, because we haven't changed this because it's a moneymaker.
Brandon, can I argue that point?
Yes.
Please. The most dangerous thing you can do is walk into your headquarters, check your email, talk to your commander.
Holy God.
That is the most dangerous. That's what's killing people.
Yeah.
It's not the job. Yeah. Really, at the end of the day, it's the organization.
Yeah. No, that
toxic, full of shit. Right?
No,
that's it.
It is.
You wanted honesty, right?
No, it is.
That's it. I'm laying it out for you.
Scott, you want to be a cop?
No. At one point, I thought I did when I was a young guy. And
Scott, do I fit your bill for this? Right?
What's that?
Do I fit your bill for this?
For what? For being a chief?
Yeah.
It's the kind of chief that I would want.
Okay, $400,000.
That's what it costs.
Yeah,
that's the bill
or more. Yeah.
Look, if it gets me competency, if it gets me fairness, if it gets me professionalism, and if we start getting those metrics to meet, and I'm not just talking about car thefts down, burglaries down.
People want to be safe, right?
They want to be safe. No, I'm talking about the other metrics like hit factors, right? Hit ratios, and things like those are things that I would value if I'm in a hostage situation. Like, I don't think people put themselves in that's never going to happen to me or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to happen to whoever on the other side of town. But the point being is like, yeah, that's fine with me. The dollars don't matter. The dollars matter to me when I don't see performance happen. When I don't see, and I mean performance at a lot of different levels. When I see, again, you're mailing it in, you're giving me this pre-canned or pre-programmed response that you think I want for whatever the reasons you think I want that, because your city councils, that's important to them. That doesn't matter to me. Like, I don't care. I'm fine paying whatever. Just tell me what the bill is. Get the fucking job done.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it at the end of the day.
Well, for you, like you're a citizen of your city, and then you're a business owner of the city that you're in. So you have two vested interests.
Oh, and don't ask me how many dollars I paid to the city.
Yeah.
For that. So, I'll never stand on that pulpit of like, I pay your salary. I never fucking do. That's the lamest thing I've ever heard ever. But at the same time, I do pay a lot of money, right? Like, it comes, and it's hard. Yeah. Like, it's hard. And every time I got to write those checks, right? Or, the fire marshal comes in and gives me another bill for, a permit or whatever else. I'm like, what am I paying for here? Yeah. Like, look, however, they did save my building last year. So,
but you also pay for, you have a business where, you could have a hostage situation in your business. It could happen. So the police that are responding to that, whether it's a domestic disturbance or whatever could happen in your business, I'm sure there's probably been police called to your business.
Oh, plenty of times. You can check the record, and there's been armed people that have walked into my business. Yeah. So don't think that I'm not aware and prepared for that. Yeah. And other people aren't either. Like, that's a very real situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like you have twofold, not just I'm protecting my house, but man, I have a business that's my livelihood. To me as a cop, man, I have the security of the city always paying me. You don't, because when your business goes out, there's no other body to.
Nobody cares either. Nobody cares.
So for me, I'm like, man, I owe it to you. Like, I don't want the homeless guy or the dickhead who's causing you problem. Like, I'll fix this for you because you're contributing to society.
Yeah, that's an interesting statement, though, too. Like, I think people need to fix their own problems. Like, citizens need to fix their own problems and stop calling cops to fix their stupid shit. Like, most of these things are avoidable, and most of those things can be handled well before the cops. You're calling the police to do things that you should be handling as a human. Like, these are not difficult things to deal with. I get you're having a bad day right now, but why did that phone call get made? Yeah, because you don't have the ability to. That's a whole other topic, whole other conversation. But people need to, as much as a police officer needs to take responsibility for the shit that they can control, our citizens, need to take control over those things too. Yeah, 100%. Like, they're as much to blame as the police officers for the dumb shit that happens.
So dumb shit. I want to end this, if I can, because I'm going to have to use the restroom soon.
Yep.
You got the oldest bladder here, so
yeah, you're going to have to get in line. You're going to have to get in line, man.
And I'm kidding about that, but I want to end this on the troops. Put the pressure on your chief, on your city council, your city manager to take care of the troops. Those are the men and women out there doing the work, responding to the calls, answering the crazy shit that's happening out there. We need to support them, right, Scott?
100%. 100%.
Not the people in my position.
No, for sure.
I think most of those people need to be fired, all of them.
Yeah. And the thing is their skill set.
You can send your hate mail to me. So
somehow I don't think you give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't care.
All right, we have anything else, fellas? I'm sure this will be a interesting podcast when it releases.
It will be.
I think it will. The only thing I want to say is I just want to thank you guys for having me at the table today. Yeah. You guys have always been very gracious with your time and sitting down and talking with me. Just a dude, right? Yeah. And Bryan, obviously, for doing the thing that I asked or that I requested, yes, that I didn't realize you had posed that I do, or be a part of, which was sitting down and having an honest conversation about the feelings on the inside at that level. Right. I recognize you don't represent all of the police chiefs in the nation.
I don't represent any.
That's my point. You're not, and you're not trying to. Like, no. I get that, and that's what I appreciate. Like, stop trying to compare and hold up some false, public statement that you think all police chiefs should be saying. That was really why I wanted to be here today. So I just want to thank everybody for allowing that to happen and for being the guy I needed and wanted to talk to. Because I've tried, man. I have tried. I put it out there. I've tried to contact. It's not for lack of effort. No. We're sitting down in front of people, and I always had the feeling that the reason they didn't want to do that, first off, maybe I'm not that likable a guy. Maybe people, they think I'm dumb. That's fine. I'll accept that, right? But if it's not that, and the reasons that they won't do that, because I think I'm fair, right? I try to be objective, right? I just try to ask honest questions, and I try to do that from an informed position. But I guess the point in that is, I think it comes down to fear and weakness.
Yeah, that's right.
And they don't want to be asked the questions because they're going to have to answer them. Right. And when you can just be silent and not say anything, that's a lot easier to do. So thanks for not doing that, dude. Thanks for being up front. I appreciate you.
That's why I'm the unicorn.
I'll remember that.
And the black sheep now.
Yeah, and the black sheep.
The most unlike chief there is.
I love it, man. I love it.
So, all right, boys and girls, man. Man, this was a pleasure, man. It was good. I always like seeing your perspective on things, and it's just like if you were a cop, because I think you've delved in enough where you immerse yourself in this community that you know the history, you know what guys are doing in the job, and that shows. So like that's why you always have a seat at the table with this organization, because of what the man you are and how you go about doing your business and stuff like that.
It's only possible because you guys have allowed me into the circle.
Yeah, well, that it goes back to, I think we have done a shitty job over the years in police in letting people like you come in and go, hey man, there's nothing for us to hide. Like fucking, let's go. Like, what do you want to know?
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So for me, I think that's the way we should do business is, I mean, if you look around from when I first started coming to these conferences to what we are now, there's so many non-LE people here that are contributing to us, and we're taking them and going, hey, come under this fold and we're going to build this thing, whatever this is, together. And that's a positive, because the more people I can get that are not like cops, the bigger army I'm going to have to see it the way it should be and be in a positive. So
it's just four dudes sitting at the table chatting, man. We do different things for a paycheck. But
yeah,
it's just four dudes.
Yeah. Well, all right, boys and girls. Man, it was a good podcast. So y'all train hard, and we'll see you next time.
Amen.